Three, two, one. Welcome everyone to today's webinar. During today's session, we're going to explore what's new within the latest Sitecore 10 release. We're going to have a look at the type of new features that have been included and how you can potentially start using some of the new functionality that's been released. But briefly about us, Ratio are a Sitecore Gold implementation partner. We've been working with Sitecore for a number of years, and we primarily work with clients around building websites and Sitecore best practice and unlocking the functionality that for a lot of marketers and the clients that we work with have yet to leverage the full potential of the platform in terms of delivering the type of experiences that Sitecore has the potential to deliver, and also the vision that clients tend to have bought into the platform. Before I go on to Sitecore 10, I just want to talk a little bit about 9 first, because problem with these type of sessions is we run through loads of new functionality, some of the stuff that comes out. Some of it seems great, some of it you're unsure how it's perhaps applicable to your own business. But I suppose the challenge, I think, from my side when speaking with marketers and development teams and anyone potentially is using the Sitecore platform is Sitecore, like most technology companies, have a robust roadmap and they're releasing a bunch of new features with their releases each year, and over the years new stuff comes out. And we do these type of sessions and we run through the latest features, but the reality is there's still a little bit of I suppose trepidation in terms of previous releases, in terms of are you actually leveraging or understanding what was in the previous version. So it's all well and good to have a look at what's currently in the latest platform, but if you're still unsure of what was included in perhaps some of the iterations of Sitecore 9, 9.1 onwards, then it can feel a little bit overkill. So just want to take a step back and just look at it, the rest of the session, through the perspective of what Sitecore's vision is, because Sitecore's vision is, I suppose, the North Star in determining the direction of the platform, and all of the functionality that comes in release each year all plays a part in delivering Sitecore's overarching ambition. And their vision is, and it has been actually for a number of years, is to move beyond just having Sitecore as a content management system, a platform for you to design, build, and connect with different systems. To have that that customer experience overlay. At its core, their vision has always been to build a digital data platform that connects with your different systems, uses Sitecore as the, I suppose, the single source of truth in terms of digital data, and allows you to build this single view of your customers, the customers' interactions with you as a business, the type of channels they're interacting with, and to then put this data in the hands of marketers to then leverage to drive a dynamic change via those channels. So via website, mobile, email, etc. And Sitecore 10 obviously implies it's a big release, but as a quick recap, because I'm cognizant of the fact that lots of people on the call today perhaps may not even be on, say, version 9 onwards. So therefore, understanding what's in Sitecore 10 is great, but actually it's probably worthwhile investigating what are the features within Sitecore 9 through to Sitecore 9.3, because I'm not including in today's session some of the functionality which was released within those versions. So it's worthwhile after today's session to also do an analysis of what was included, because obviously if you upgrade to Sitecore 10 in 2021, obviously you're going to have access to the latest features, but you also have access to all of the previous features released from Sitecore 9 onwards. And there was a lot of good stuff released from Sitecore 9 onwards, from Sitecore Forms being completely rebuilt from the ground up, to more functionality around analytics, Sitecore, Cortex, their machine learning functionality. There's a bunch of things within those releases which may or may not be relevant to your organization, depending on what your ambitions are and different types of systems you have in place. Before we go on, just a quick reminder around Sitecore, Cortex, XConnect, XDB, Sitecore's data collection capabilities, because it always feels like the forgotten product. There's an awful lot of noise around these products when they're released, but I rarely hear these coming up in conversations with the customers that we work with or we're speaking to in terms of what's in their vision for the future in terms of their own digital roadmap. But from my side, it's things like XConnect are incredibly important, and I suppose the simplest way to describe it, it allows you as digital and marketing teams to leverage Sitecore as your data middle layer and to ingest all your other types of marketing customer data into one single system. This is really powerful if you're looking to build this single view of your customer in terms of the interactions they have with you across different digital channels and are interested in how you can leverage that data to, Sitecore talks about, contextual omni-channel type experiences, but, at a pinch, how you can leverage this data to change the next experience that a customer or client has when they come back to engage with you digitally based on an understanding of the type of data you hold on them, what have they researched previously, what products have they looked at, what are they interested in, etc. Cool. Then let's go into the main part of today's presentation, looking at the features within Sitecore 10. So for today, I'm going to cover a mixture of some of the technical updates and some of the marketing updates. I know we have a lot of marketers on the call today, but I also know we've got quite a few people with a technical background. So I'm going to keep it at a relatively high level. If anyone has any really deep technical questions, I would suggest just sending these afterwards, and we can go back and give you a bit more robust answer to any questions that you may have. So continuous delivery with Sitecore containers. So Sitecore containers allows for a more efficient and quicker code deployments by packaging up applications and dependencies and making them a lot easier to move between environments. This is super useful for development teams. So whether you're working with agencies or whether you've brought development in-house, it's useful if they look in the switch between different projects or sites regularly, which may be using different Sitecore versions or may need to recreate different environments. Sitecore has Docker container images for XP and XM. They also provide non-production images as well for Solar and readers for developers. Everything is publicly available in Sitecore image repository for customers. And there's a bunch of information provided in the Sitecore forums with a lot more information around this for how you begin to use this in anger. So some of the benefits around some of the things I just covered off. So containers make the onboarding process for new development team members really fast. So if you have development in-house, this is something which could be super useful and hopefully reduce cost and time. But it's basically looking to help you deliver projects much quicker and more cost effectively. Sitecore's been moving towards headless for a number of years now, and in terms of Sitecore development into the future, we expect to see headless development becoming far more standardized within the type of Sitecore sites which are being built and delivered. So Sitecore already has based some features such as the publishing service, identity server, or Sitecore Commerce on the open source framework. But most components depend on the .NET framework. As part of the more complete move to headless development, there's a new SDK for headless, which is available in Sitecore 10. And you can also use placeholders, field renderings, model bindings, and editing is supported in Experience Editor 2. In terms of the benefits, well, as part of the move to an ASP.NET option within the headless development. It provides a robust framework that enables you to have faster performance. And with the headless development approach with .NET core technology ensures flexibility in terms of being able to deliver content experiences quicker and across different channels. And look at some of the marketing improvements in Sitecore 10. And again, Sitecore 10 as a release implies there's a bunch of new things which have been built from the ground up. And that's not actually necessarily the case. From our analysis, and I have to give a lot of credit to my colleague Alina, who's our senior solution architect, for doing a lot of the analysis around what's in Sitecore 10. But from her and the rest of the team's feedback has been very much that it's incremental improvements to tools which are already in place, which makes sense because a lot of the tools have been within the Sitecore platform for a number of years in terms of the marketing functionality, but actually a lot of the feedback from customers has always been it's all well and good, but actually it's missing a bunch of functionality to make it useful in day-to-day marketing. So which makes sense why they're looking to enhance what's already there. So a couple of new things. We have enhanced audience segmentation analytics. So this improves the way Sitecore collects and handles customer data, meaning that users can be tracked across multiple channels, across their lifetime engagement with you as a business. So this allows you as the marketer looking to analyze those customers, gives you a more detailed picture of how users are navigating a website in a single place. The benefits of this is it will allow you to build more detailed customer profiles, which in turn will allow for more targeted and segmented personalization. For customers who are using EXM, so EXM is Sitecore's out-of-the-box email platform. Sitecore 10 has added a bunch of new templates for email campaigns, which is great if you're don't have access to a front-end developer to build out new templates. But these are all fully customizable, so you can add your own brand, look and feel on these. So the idea being to save you a lot of time in preparing new content, new types of content for campaigns. Marketing automation, which obviously goes hand in hand with the email platform, has had a bunch of new rules built to allow more targeted automated follow-ups afterwards. And a basic one actually, but hopefully it will lead towards an improvement in Sitecore's out-of-the-box analytics, which to be honest, has lacked a lot of core functionality to make a really useful analytics platform for marketers. But they've introduced in Sitecore 10 segmentation for analytics report. So this will allow marketers to add more segmentation filters so you can dig deeper into your customer data. So the move towards Sitecore Horizon. So Sitecore Horizon is Sitecore's fancy name for their new content editing interface. So previously you have the experience editor, which is basically the what you see, what you get editor, and the back-end content editor. Sitecore Horizon is their next generation editing experience. Which it was introduced in Sitecore 9.3, but it had limited functionality within that release. So within Sitecore 10, it's the full version for content editors to start editing sites in a more dynamic fashion. So Horizon allows content management for items with or without the presentation layer, which helps support the headless experience. If you have multi-site and multilingual environments, it supports that, which it saves a lot of time for content editors. And it introduces drag and drop functionality, which isn't something which existed in the previous way of editing content on Sitecore. So personalization has always been available depending on the Sitecore license you have. It's Sitecore split out their licensing in terms of CMS only and what they call the experience platform, which is CMS plus all the bells and whistles in terms of marketing functionality, XDP, etc. But with Sitecore 10, if you have a license that is just CMS only, you're now able to take advantage of the the 100 or so out of the box personalization rules that Sitecore has. So you can begin to start testing and building the use case for using Sitecore's marketing platform functionality. So which is useful, and there's at no additional cost. The reason why I mentioned earlier in the session to explore what was included in Sitecore 9 onwards, because if you perhaps you're on an earlier version, or even if you actually are on Sitecore 9 onwards, but actually not really cognizant of what's actually included in that platform. One of the big things was rebuilding Sitecore Forms, which was previously known as web form for marketers. It was very much an unloved product within Sitecore, but for most organizations, Forms is bread and butter in terms of everyone uses Forms, everyone has a need for Forms, but it isn't traditionally been super sexy or interesting, but actually in terms of day-to-day marketing, super valuable. So it was rebuilt from the ground up in Sitecore 9 onwards, and in Sitecore 10 they've introduced functionality improvements. So biggest ones being around GDPR updates for consent and Sitecore Forms. So this goes back to companies' data privacy concerns. So the update in Sitecore Forms simplifies the removal and anonymization of personal data while saving the ability for marketing teams to see that anonymized reports. So this just gives marketers greater control around the use of forms and data. This one I thought should have been years ago, and it's actually something you see pretty out of the box in I suppose more basic CMS platforms like Squarespace and WordPress. But if you're a content editor, this can be a pain in the backside. So the updates in Sitecore 10 around, you can write your content in Word, which is great if you have teams who are writing content in Word and send it over to you. You can now easily convert copy from Word and input it straight into Sitecore without any of the sometimes formatting issues you get when you copy direct from Word. So it doesn't seem a major improvement, but in terms of if you're working in a content editing team, it's something which could actually save quite a bit of time. Content Hub is a new platform that was, Sitecore bought this company a couple of years ago. Content Hub is basically a campaign management SaaS product. So it's great if you're producing lots of content, lots of campaigns, and you're looking for a centralized hub to manage that content and the distribution of that content to your team. So it's not relevant for every type of Sitecore client, so it depends on the type of marketing activity you're doing. In terms of Sitecore 10, they've more tightly integrated that new platform, Content Hub, into the core Sitecore experience platform, which from a marketer's perspective just allows for the better, easier sharing of content between the two systems to facilitate marketing campaigns. Again, this isn't going to be obviously relevant to every organization, but Sitecore has improved the functionality integration between Sitecore and Salesforce Marketing Cloud. Sitecore announced a big partnership with Salesforce, it feels like a couple of years ago now, and this is some of the fruit that's being born out of that partnership. But if you're an organization who uses Salesforce, which obviously there's a lot of companies out there, they've introduced tighter integration between the two platforms. So you can now easily send data stored within Sitecore's experience database directly to Salesforce in real time and respond to events immediately. So triggering things like on-site personalization based on data held within Salesforce. The reason why I say it's super useful, this is something, whether it's this has been done with with Salesforce or another third-party system. This comes up in conversation time and time again. Tight integration with third-party platforms, the ability to share data between Sitecore and things like different email platforms and CRM. This is great because obviously it reduces the overall cost for organizations wanting to do this if you're on Salesforce, whereas previously obviously there's quite a bit of development and planning involved in this type of activity. Well, that was a whistle-stop tour of Sitecore 10. I just want to, I suppose, finish on how you can start using the features, because this is something that I know I get asked quite often, because we do these sessions, we run through a bunch of new things that have been released. Some of it is interesting, some might go over people's heads, some people can see how they can apply it to their own organization. But the reality is, Sitecore will have multiple releases each year, and they will have new products being delivered within the platform, and that will have incremental improvements, and these add up over time. And the reality is, for a lot of organizations, you're probably only unlocking a small percentage of the potential of the platform. So if I was to provide listeners on the call today with a recommendation on how you can start using these features within Sitecore 10, but also all of the features within the platform, how would I approach it? I would abstract the functionality from what you want to do. I would sit down and look at what type of I suppose, digital engagement you want to create with your customers and clients via your website or via different channels. Do have a mapping exercise for the platform in terms of what's included and what the new features are capable of, and match that to your plans in terms of the type of marketing you want to do. For example, are you looking to share more data with sales teams in CRM? Are you looking to drive deeper personalization? Are you looking at having a more integrated omni-channel type experience for customers, where you have consistent messaging across channels based on what you know about them? So I would define what it is you want to do, and then I would do the mapping exercise of the Sitecore platform and literally list out everything that's included, what it's capable of, and see how that matches against your ambitions. I would then look to do a mapping exercise of your other marketing platforms. Sitecore pitches Sitecore as the single platform that you need, but the reality is you will always need to use different marketing technologies. You're never going to use just one platform for your marketing. So I would also do a similar exercise with the other marketing technologies you have in place. What are they capable of? What are you using at the moment? What have you yet to unlock? How do they potentially sit together? And how can the data between those systems connect as well? Which is why I mentioned earlier in the session around Sitecore XDB and Sitecore's experience database as being like the almost like the forgotten child of the Sitecore platform for a lot of organizations, because that's actually provides a lot of the foundational stuff in terms of collating data and sharing data between your different systems. So there's, as I said, it was a whistle-stop tour. If anyone has any questions, feel free to ping me an email, and I'll get back to everyone with a detailed answer in a couple of days. So thank you and goodbye.